Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Let's Go Talk About It. I'm one of your hosts, Loco Doko or Yunsub Choi, whatever you might know me by. And we have the wonderful Andrew Wang, reporter, crypto influencer, the NFT mascot, whatever you might know him as.
Yeah, I feel like it keeps changing. I started out really as like a NFT journalist, and then at some point, you do so much in the space, it becomes NFT writer, and then it becomes NFT advocate, NFT guru. You try to avoid the term influencer, but I think it's just a space that really invites you in, and I've just had such a good time that I really wanted to embed myself and immerse myself. So yeah, anything goes.
Yeah, I know why you hate the term influencer. It's really common in gaming too. People don't like being referred to as an influencer because they feel like it diminishes what their work is and what they do, and you just get pinned as someone that influences. But yeah, I think creator is a really good word, and that's what people started going by. And I think that's actually a really good word to describe you, NFT creator. You create communities, you create talk shows, you create your own brand. I think, yeah, maybe try that for a title.
All right, let's do NFT creator. I like that idea a lot because, in the NFT space, I really still put artists at the top. And artists to me are like alchemists, right? You can create something out of nothing, basically. All you have is, a sheet of paper, or all you have is your iPad and Procreate. And it's literally nothing until you do something with it. And as somebody who's not really like an illustrator or a painter or an artist in that sense, it feels good to feel like I can also and bring value. I think you're right. I think with influencers, it's like, am I just a paid shill? Am I just somebody who tweets about things? And yeah, we'd like to be known as more. Also, this has been a week where the term influencer has come under fire a lot. If you if you're aware of the drama with that particular token, and yeah, you know what I mean?
So we are going to talk about drama, not that influencer drama today, though. It's going to be about Andrew's, I wouldn't say, I almost said your personal project. Like, to me, like, in a sense, you're part of the Coolcast team almost, but you are just a very big figure in the Coolcast space. You're not actually part of the development team. But yeah, let's talk about Coolcast and a derivative project that happened, Baby Coolcast. So I'll set up the stage a little. I don't know that much about Ethereum derivative projects, but I do know a lot about the Solana derivative projects. So we talked about it on the last episode. We used to have the show with the exact same name, but I just blew up the channel and we went with the short form. But in that episode, we talked about a lot of the Solana projects having these inspiration projects or these tribute projects where basically you take an IP and then you make another version of that IP. So the number one project on Solana ecosystem is Solana Monkey Business, and there was the Solana Monkettes, which were basically girl versions of the Solana Monkey Business. And then there was Grandpa Solana Monkey Business, and then Baby Solana Monkey Business, and then there was Doge Capital, which was Solana Monkey Business, but the pixel art was just of Doges with the same attributes basically. And then there's Solana Droid Business, which is robots that don't have the exact same attributes, but is still very much inspired by Solana Monkey Business. I mean, those projects, some of them definitely like have developed a community and are doing something very different from the original Solana Monkey Business, but they have definitely borrowed from the initial IP and the initial knownness of it, the initial brand, the initial awareness for the project. And yeah, right now in the Solana ecosystem, it's looked on pretty badly to do a tribute project and basically borrow the IP, especially if all you're doing is creating the art and there's no follow-up. I mean, a lot of the easy follow-up is, oh, we're going to do a community, we're going to do a DAO, we're going to buy a Solana Monkey NFT, and we're going to fractionalize it, and everyone in the DAO can own it. That is pretty much the de facto thing a lot of these tribute projects do. But yeah, I'm kind of curious on what the Ethereum ecosystem point of view on tribute projects are, and we can get into Baby Coolcast and the big issue surrounding it.
Yeah, so on Ethereum, I feel like there's been this kind of idea or stereotype about Solana for a time, which is that, hey, we have the legit projects on Ethereum, and then a lot of the derivative projects, right? like having the Bored Apes and then throwing the Solana colors in the background for the Bored Apes.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Um, for like Soul Punks, things like that. There's been that kind of back and forth between the two ecosystems, and it's only partially right, right? Because for a time when we believe that, it takes our attention away from really good and legitimate projects on the Solana ecosystem. I think now we're at a point where the space has grown so much, has professionalized a little bit, um, but now that we're kind of entering back into this bull market, perhaps, there's been a lot more excitement about more projects coming out. And unfortunately, a lot of these projects are kind of low effort. Um, I was looking up on this website all the new drops that were coming out. And just this week, I saw not only Lil Baby Cool Cats, which we'll talk about, but I saw something called Cool Kitties.
There's cool dogs also.
These cool dogs.
Yeah.
And then I saw someone too I saw something too that was called like chocolate cool cats.
Oh
And I was
god.
like, oh, did they make them look like chocolate bars? And then I looked, and it was just the colors of the cool cats inverted. Because when you invert light blue, it becomes brown. So all they did was throw the color inversion filter on it and said, hey, this is brown and chocolate is brown. So we're calling it the chocolate cool cats. And when I saw that, I just couldn't stop laughing. But I, to kind of ground this for a second, I think the hot topic of the week, not only for the cool cats, which as you said, I'm a really big part of. I own the rarest cool cat. I own a bunch of other cool cats. I'm very invested in not only, the project in a financial way, but I'm invested in the project in a kind of emotional way. This is a project by an artist who has struggled a lot, has worked on this for almost 10 years. And so as someone who is a writer and a journalist and has struggled for years as well, I empathize with that. And so this has been a kind of, financial thing for me, but also an emotional thing. And it's good to keep that kind of perspective, possibly bias in mind. But basically what happened was that this past week, there have been a few projects that have come out that have been kind of like the baby versions of some popular projects. So one of the ones that really made headlines before Lil Baby Cool Cats, I can't even remember the name. Maybe we call them like baby Bored Apes.
Yeah, I saw the shrunken down ones.
Right. Essentially, it's the Bored Apes, but they're shrunken down into like a little cute little image in the bottom. And that was a project that pumped a lot because people thought it was really cute, right? And maybe that had some questions about IP as well, but people bought into it because say you own an ape and you're like, hey, these are pretty cheap and they're really cute. Now that one kind of fizzled out because, maybe fizzled out is a euphemism because somebody found that there were some traits that were, I'm going to say it straight up racist, right? They had, traits called like skinhead and basically referencing like Nazi imagery. I mean,
Well, even after
absolutely.
Jungle Freaks, people fuck up regarding that. It's like, okay, I mean, it's not really like hard rule. Racism bad. Don't have bad things in your project. Duh.
Right. I mean, it was kind of shocking, honestly. I mean, it just goes to show that when we talk about low effort, it's not only low effort with the art, it's not thinking things through, or maybe just not wanting to think these things through. But essentially that happened, and that floor went down a ton because people didn't really want to be associated with that. And in that aftermath, though, maybe it did still have that effect of, introducing these kind of baby projects, right? Like you have this well-known project like Bored Apes, and then you make the baby. There's thought perhaps that maybe you could take the other projects and make a baby as well, and of course, avoid that blatant issue. But otherwise, the floor did pump before that realization, and I'm not going to speculate if that was the exact motivation for Lil Baby Cool Cats to come out. But, about a couple of days ago, we did see that project come out, and it was basically the Cool Cats, but shrunken. And that's my dog right now. I might have to go grab him. But, I know you had these Cool Cats that were shrunken down into that little area of a profile picture. And what happened with that is that the Cool Cats team actually issued a DMCA
A takedown.
against that project, right? A DMCA takedown. And so it was delisted from OpenSea, and I think they moved it to Rarible. So obviously, when OpenSea is the main platform for trading NFTs, especially when they're PFP projects, it kind of hurt the floor a lot, hurt people's investments. But then it brought up this issue, right? Of like, how is IP working here? Was Cool Cats in the right to issue this DMCA? Or is Lil Baby Cool Cats in the right because they're doing like a derivative project? And, it became this dramatic thing in the NFT space the last day or so.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main argument on the Lil Baby Cool Cat side was that Cool Cats had published a Medium article saying that they didn't really have the energy to essentially go after these projects. And they argued that they built this project based on that assumption or from what they had read. From the Cool Cat side, they also talked about why they issued a DMCA. And so there was this message in Discord sent out by Extreme Tom, who's one of the devs for the project. And I'm looking at it now. And basically, the point is that it's about protecting IP, but also protecting the owners of these Cool Cats that are worth quite a lot. There was like a whole Q&A, things like, are projects allowed to repurpose existing Cool Cat assets? No. Will Cool Cats issue takedown notices to projects that use our likeness, name, branding, and IP? Yes. Right? Are we prepared to work with derivative projects in order to ensure they don't get delisted? Yes. So this whole time, it's like a very fine line, right? Derivative projects of Cool Cats do exist. I have a ton of derivatives of my Upside Down Cool Cat, but those are typically commissioned by myself, right? And I own this NFT. Or somebody just makes it and says like, hey, can I send this to you as a gift? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I won't sell it or anything. I appreciate that you made this for me. If you want to show me your art, I'll come check it out. And I think what was happening in this discussion was that there was very little talk between the creator Lil Baby Cool Cats project and Cool Cats saying, hey, we have a high volume derivative project, right? High volume meaning thousands of NFTs instead of one or a few. And from my understanding, that conversation was never really had, which kind of sets the stage as well for this debate, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And, my take on it is that obviously in Web3, we try to be charitable. We try to work with projects. And this is not me talking from the team. This is generally the principles that I've observed. Try to work with projects. We celebrate kind of artistic commentary. So for example, I was maybe more sympathetic to Funks, which were like the CryptoPunks but flipped around with a border.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the question of effort, right? Was this a high effort project? Because you are selling a lot, you are making a lot of Ethereum. Is it high effort? I don't know. my personal opinion was that it just felt like Cool Cats but shrunken down, essentially. And then there's the part that's like, did you check with the team? Did you work with them? Did you see how can this coexist if it can? Ultimately, my personal opinion, and keep in mind, I do have a stake in this because I am a pretty big Cool Cats owner. I am a big advocate for them, as many of us do become.
Mm-hmm.
Klon is somebody who has worked on this for years and years, right? He has poured his whole soul into it. He has given all of himself into it. He has suffered. He has failed. He has spent time away because it felt like a lost cause. NFTs gave him a second chance to do and draw and create what he loved most. And it's taken months to build out a really successful project, but it's also taken about a decade because he's been at this. And I can't speak for him and I can't speak for the team. But I think that's the highest amount of effort you could really expect from anybody in the space. That's what I latch on to. That's why for me, it's not just about the art that I see, it's about the art that has become what it is today and the IP, right, that it's become today,
Mm-hmm.
right? From him being in that little shack in 2015 to now seeing his work and my cat up on these big billboards in Times Square, emotionally, there's a part of me that feels connected to that wants to respect that work. Um, do I think there are thoughtful ways to do it? Of course, but I think a thoughtful ways to do it, meaning derivative projects. But I think ultimately it's up to the team, and the team in this case decided to go for that DMCA, and I've kind of been like not saying too much about it on Twitter, but ultimately I do think they made a good choice because the space is about collaboration, the space is about working things out, but it's not like IP doesn't exist at all, right? So that's kind of my view on this right now.
So basically, in the Web2 world, or the world we're living in outside of NFTs and crypto, what this would be is licensing an IP. And to license an IP, you have to either pay a flat fee or you have to pay a percentage in all profits. And it's a new world, it's NFTs, it's Web3. There aren't rules per se, but there's definitely a code that we should stand by. And there's definitely a standard as a community that we should uphold. Baby Cool Cats, I have not done as much research as you have, but for me, for a tribute project to be, I guess, within standards, it should bring value back to the original project, and it should be okayed by the original project. It's the kind of the difference between fan art. Maybe you really like Naruto, so you draw Naruto on your t-shirt and you wear it, versus you really like Naruto and there's other Naruto fans, so you go and make unofficial, unlicensed merch and you sell it and you're doing it for a profit. And that's kind of the line that I think Cool Cat or Baby Cool Cat was headed towards. They, from my knowledge, did not talk to the original team. And I think tribute projects should be done out of the love of the original project. And if it's done out of the love of the original project, why would you not go and talk to the original team? Hey, can I make this? If you reached out and they ignore you, then they ignored you, and it is their IP. They have probably a lot of people reaching out to them on a daily basis. So they're not really even obliged to reply to you. And that doesn't give you the okay to go out and make a full-on tribute project like that. And also, as a project owner, if someone wanted to do a tribute project, I would talk to them. Why do you want to do this? And I think the core reason we see a lot of these projects come up is because it's easy to make money. You don't need to come up with your own brand. You're borrowing a brand, you're borrowing a license, you're borrowing an IP, and there's already a fan base. There's already awareness for that brand. And it's something that happens a lot in the space. Usually there is a wave of projects. So this happened on Solana. There was a wave of derivatives or tribute projects because we saw one succeed and people are like, oh, that one succeeded, I can make another one. And there's buyers because they see the first tribute project succeed and also go up from the mint price. They realize it as a potential investing moment, potential upside moment. And then they also get into those tribute projects. And yeah, it kind of fills the ecosystem with very low effort project, and it takes away from the original project. The original project did all the work of branding, of the art, of building the community, and now all these add-on projects come in. And kind of what's happened in the Solana space is if you do a tribute project, you're going to pay like 20%, 30% to the DAO. But that's not, in my eyes, sometimes even enough. Like, how much work are you putting in to get 70% of the mint profit? Like, that is the big question. That is the kind of the discussion point. How much are you taking from the original project for your own benefit, and how much are you giving back? And why do we even need to have this conversation? Like, you can do fan art, like these one-of-one fan art, that is fan art. But when you do these large projects, like you said, like large unit number projects, you're definitely, in a sense, stealing the IP because you're not doing it with permission. So yeah, in my eyes, projects like Baby Cool Cats, that's a no-go. And the angle that they took after the DMCA or the takedown was issued was like, Cool Cats rug their own community. No, they're protecting their IP and they're protecting their brand. Their angle was Cool Cats rug their own community because Cool Cat owners also owned Baby Cool Cats, and by the takedown, the Baby Cool Cat floor went down, so they're rugging their own community. No, like, I hate this idea of you're rugging the own community if you're doing something protective of your brand and of your IP. it just does not make sense to me, and I think it was a cheap shot towards Coolcats. The owners or the project leads of Baby Coolcats, they should 100% know that the reason that Baby Coolcats are popular or people have interest in them is because they use the Coolcat IP. And yeah, I think overall I feel pretty icky about how things went down from Baby Coolcat side, and I think Coolcat was in full rights. And for disclosure, I don't own any Coolcats. I don't own any Baby Coolcats. I am a friend of Andrew's. I met Klon before. I wouldn't really consider him a friend. I've had one dinner with him basically, and we follow each other on Twitter, so I don't have as large of a connection as Andrew does. But I guess my stake in this is as a project owner, I don't like that idea. And I am someone that thought about doing a tribute project for a very popular project on Solana, but as I did more research, it seemed like this isn't the way I want to go, and it seems like I'm going to be benefiting off another project's IP and another project's hard work, and it doesn't seem right. So, my 2 cents.
See, what you're doing now is you're being transparent. Not only are you being transparent about your relationship with Klon and the project and me, you're being transparent about what you would have done and the things that you had to think through. I think when you have a spaces called Coolcats Rug Their Own Community, and you bring in hundreds of people. And when I went in too, I had to kind of think, okay, I do have a pretty big NFT following, and whenever I go into a room, they can see that I'm in the room. And so I'm bringing a lot more people in. So I had to kind of make that decision, like, hey, if I go in, then a lot of my audience and my Coolcat friends are going to be in as well. And I did decide to go in because I need to hear about what's going on, and that's important, right? And I do think people should be able to hear anything, any side of an argument, and make that decision for themselves. I have that trust and faith in them. It did seem like the idea of like Coolcats Rug Their Own Community. Not only was it a clickbait title, but it was also a kind of straw man argument. Like as you said, if some of the owners of Lil Baby Coolcats are Coolcats owners, and Coolcats has the owners of the Coolcats' best interests in mind, then they shouldn't take down Lil Baby Coolcats, because taking down Lil Baby Coolcats would affect the investment of Coolcats owners. Not only is that only a percentage or a fraction of those owners, but it's also kind of evading the larger conversation here, which we're talking about, right? Again, to me, transparency is key. Mm-hmm. Being transparent about what message you're getting across. Also being transparent about how we want this ecosystem to work. For me, I'm not a lawyer. I'm still learning about IP. The great thing about NFTs is that this is the first time I've really thought about IP. I use that word like 10 times a day now. I'd never thought about it before. I just thought about brands and money and maybe like vaguely copyright. But now the idea of IP has become very interesting to me. For me, not everything is only about whether it falls within strict rules or not. The space is as much about norms as it is about rules. For example, if I'm buying a Coolcat, as I've done in the past, from a private seller, typically we know each other, we hang out in Discord. In the Coolcats Discord, we're probably Twitter friends. Whenever I buy a Coolcat from them, obviously we don't have to do it through the standard OpenSea listing, where it's like, all right, I have my cat listed for this much, you go buy it. Because there is a 2.5% fee from OpenSea. Like, as much as OpenSea is cool, when we go through a private...
If you can dodge the fee, then you can dodge the fee.
When we go through a private sale, what we used to do is we would just kind of dodge that 2.5% fee. Like, friends at OpenSea, I'm sorry, but like, that's what we do. But whenever that happens, right, and we just have the ETH transaction, we have always taken and calculated what that 2.5% fee is, which is the Coolcats creator royalty, and we've sent it to the Coolcats wallet. Because to us, like, that's part of supporting the artist, that's part of why we're in the space. We don't have to. Klon's not gonna call me up and be like, you asshole, like, you didn't give me the 2.5%, you did this private sale. Like, no. He's probably happy that, like, that we're having these Coolcat sales. But, it feels like a sign of respect and a norm that we want to push for. Right? What makes the NFT space so great is that we have this system that supports the original creator. And so we want to honor and respect that. And to us, giving that 2% 2.5%, even though it's a small amount that they've set compared to some other projects, it is significant to us that we do that. I think thinking about this whole thing, right? It's been this huge controversy. You never want to be the person who's like gatekeeping, like, no, GTFO, like, you can't do these projects. For me, it really is all about transparency. When you're transparent, you can work within these gray areas and do good and do interesting things. People in the space want to be your friends. I mean, the Cool Cats team, I latch onto them so much because they're some of the friendliest people that I've known. For me, it's like, if you're the creator of a derivative project, right, get the okay from the original team, right? Or think about what exactly you're communicating. I do think Funks, in some ways, communicated a kind of different message in relation to Punks than this project perhaps did with Cool Cats. It's also important to recognize the origins of each project, as I've spoken about, right? All of this is in the gray area, and I admire the gray area. I think the gray area pushes us forward. And really think about what it is you're doing and how it might move the space forward or move other projects forward, instead of just saying that it will, when perhaps the main draw of this project is to earn a lot of money. I mean, look, you know that I've done blockchain investigations. I have really good friends who do blockchain investigations. I looked at the contract of Lil Baby Cool Cats, and basically the way the Lil Baby Cool Cats contract was set up was that it had this thing in the contract that automatically split up the ETH generated from these sales into a handful of different wallets. Now, some of these wallets I can't really track because they were routed to Coinbase.
Mm-hmm.
And Coinbase uses a hot wallet, so you have like Coinbase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that takes the ETH and then moves it somewhere else. So it's very hard to track.
Basically gets blended.
Right. It gets like kind of blended. But some of the wallets, I looked them up on Etherscan and OpenSea, and I saw that with the ETH they had made from the project, they were sweeping up the floor of Anonymice. And for me, I'm like, look, it's okay if you take profits and then you buy back into the ecosystem. I think in essence that's good, right? I like it when people reinvest their money into more NFTs because I support NFTs. I think NFTs are awesome. I like when there's more money and capital circulating in the ecosystem. But like, I would like that transparency about why, right? Or what's going to the community wallet. Or if you are part of this project and your holders are seeing the value go down, how are you supporting them? And to me, that transparency is always key. Like, I love transparency so much. I know I could always be better at it too, and I'm always trying. For example, when I mentioned, hey, I am a Cool Cats owner. I do own the rarest Cool Cat. Things like that. But I think it's something to strive towards. I have no true animosity against the Lil Baby Cool Cats team. I think I learned a lot from this drama, from this happening, from this week. Ultimately, I'm grateful because I think it made me a smarter and more thoughtful person in the space. But I think, again, this main lesson has just been about being transparent, about trying to work with people, trying to be open about what your goals are. And it's a hard ask, and it involves a lot of gray lines. But I think if we really want to push the space forward together, instead of making out with a bag, then that's the standard we have to hold ourselves to. And we have to hold others to that standard as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my take on it is, I think all these tribute projects are a very good way to make money in the short term. But if you have the capabilities to make a tribute project, you actually have capabilities to contribute to a community at large, or even do a legitimate project or be part of a team. So that's kind of my thing. I think you have all these skills. Sure, there's this like short-term anonymous way to make a lot of money. And I don't know these people or any of these project owners' situations, so maybe it's not my place to say. But when you have those skills, just build or be part of a bigger team and give back. Long run, you'll make more money that way. You'll build a brand that way. You'll build a good name for yourself that way. And I think all those things are much more valuable than anything you can gain in the short term. But it's also hard to say, like, because people make life-changing money from these projects and then they disappear. And I mean, they do it anonymously. So for them, like, what's really holding them back? And it's the community that has to kind of be like, oh, we're not for this. We're not for low effort tribute projects. Like, if you're doing a low effort tribute project, like, we won't buy it. But honestly, that's not what really happens. What really happens is these low effort tribute projects like happen, they make money, and then more projects like that happen because they saw the earlier projects money, or they saw the earlier projects make money, and then once these tribute projects stop making money, then the projects stop happening. It's just market correction, and that's just kind of what we're gonna have to wait for. Because yeah, people, they see the potential in the short-term cash, and they're just gonna take it. That's just human nature.
Right. And something that I really want to advocate for in the wake of all of this is not really even about Lil Baby Cool Cats. It's about the space as a whole and how we act in the space. You know, for me, reputation is everything. I've turned down a lot of projects because I haven't really felt that close to it. And I know that I don't want to attach my reputation to that. That's what gives you longevity in the space, right? We've seen this week, you know, some people might have gone for projects that made them a lot of money in the short term, but especially if they're well known, it really hurt their reputation because it was a bad project, essentially. And for me, I think there are just so many ways to feel empowered in the space that don't have to be cash grabby. You know, you may think that, look, it is hard to get into Cool Cats right now. Like, I think the cheapest Cool Cat is at least $30,000 right now. Might be like 35. Man, that's a lot of money. Right? When I was making like 4 or 5 months ago, $25 an hour at a part-time job, you know, if I looked at that, right, and said I could make a ton of ETH in a short amount of time, would I be tempted had I not learned about all these things about community and feeling empowered as an artist, writer, contributor, creator myself? Absolutely. You know, it's a whole lot of money. But I think there are just so many ways to utilize talent in the space. Like you said, you know, if you're building out a project, you know, there are certain skills there that maybe if applied in a different way could really give you a long-term career in the space. For me, I really tried to remind myself of that. I remember the fact that Justin Aversano is one of my favorite photographers in the space. I think he is one of the greatest photographers in the world, in history. Now, I obviously can't afford his Twin Flames, but, you know, as a writer in the space, I worked until I could collaborate with him and drop an NFT together. And that felt so satisfying, right? I tweeted something like, I can't afford my favorite artist's work, so I'll just collaborate with him instead. And I feel like that is a possibility, right? You can be so empowered in this space when you have the right mindset and you have this hope that people will welcome you in, people will see what talents and contributions or even time that you possess and are willing to give. And when you do that, the space just becomes so fun. It's the reason why I didn't care too much that we were in a bear market until maybe recently we might be going back up. Because even in a bear market, I'm still me. I still have the same skills. I still have the same friendships. And so we can do things. We can build. We can work on projects. We can create art. We can have discussions. And that was really one of the best times of my life because we were just hanging out every day, drunk bidding on people's pieces, building out projects together, sharing ideas, thinking about the next meetup. I mean, that's how I saw you a few days ago, right? That was kind of the tail end of that 3-week bear market. I was like, let's hang out. Because when we hang out, we have so much to talk about.
Us hanging out
And
stop the bear market.
Right? So I'd say this whole past few days with these derivative projects and the IP discussion has just reaffirmed my confidence in myself, but also in strong communities.
So this was supposed to be a short 10-15 minute episode, but we're at 35 minutes, so I'll say something short and end this episode. I got into NFTs for money. When I saw Gutter Cat Gang and someone told me that thing's worth $2,000 and they were telling me they were making $10K a month flipping NFTs, I only saw the cashback, and that's why I initially got into NFTs. And I learned a lot about projects. I learned a lot about both Ethereum and Solana ecosystem, kind of the things that go on. And I saw that I had a chance to do something differently. And most importantly, I had a chance to create, and I had a chance to build something for myself and other people around me. And that was kind of my turning point in terms of how I want to be and the type of person I want to be in the NFT space. And yeah, it might happen for you, it might not happen for you. And honestly, whenever I hear Andrew talk about honesty, transparency, community first, others first, like, I'm much older than Andrew. I'm at least like 5 years older than Andrew. And it's crazy to me that someone that young, someone with much less life experience than me, can have that kind of point of view. And I'm someone that has done more than Andrew in our past lives before Web3. I'm someone that's been a professional League of Legends player before, professional League of Legends coach before. Andrew talked about making $25 an hour at a part-time job. I was much more luckier than him. And yeah, like, Andrew is a big reason for why I've always been trying to do better and the type of person I want to be in the Web3 world. And I hope this podcast and kind of just listening to us and hearing multiple perspectives can do that for people. Like, money is really tempting. I am 100% with you, but I also think long term I'm going to make more money this way. Long term, I'm also just going to have an easier time sleeping, making more friends, and just being more okay being myself and have more fun in the space this way too. And yeah, I hope we can influence you guys to do that.
Yeah, for NFT projects, how you start is very, very important. But I think for people entering the space, it's not how you enter, it's how you end up. And the space teaches you a hell of a lot about that. And that's what I love about NFTs.
All
So
right,
yeah.
let's end on that.